And if you want to learn more about it, go to askajudge.com, brain in a jar. Go here. If you don't want to hear it from me, that's fine. You don't have to believe me, but certainly you should believe judges. What decks I ended up losing to? I lost to Green Red Eldrazi once, and then I lost to Mardudu Control. And the other game, I only had 3 losses. It was Mardudu Control. Okay, Blue at Red Delver. That sucked. That was unfortunate. I could have won that one, maybe. I made a misplay. So Blue at Red Delver, I did. Blue at Red Delver, Green Red Eldrazi, and Mardudu Control were my 3 losses. I beat everything else I played. I did tie a Chord of Calling. It was sweet. It was like his own variant of Kiki Chord. I did tie him. And then my other tie was to Affinity. I actually tied against Affinity, and you're wondering, well, my opponent was... Well, we'll get into that. Maybe another time. I already debriefed that, so we'll do that another time. Yeah. This explains both split cards and fuse cards. It doesn't explain the 0 mana cards. Actually, wait, that should be on the list of mechanics that I didn't list. Ancestral. So actually there are 6 effects you could abuse with Brain. So you got Ancestral. There you go. Recall. Vision. Okay, so those are it's actually 6 things that Brain and Jar can abuse. So you really should pick yours up, not because I'm telling you to do so, but necessarily. But the thing is the card busts 0, like spells like Vision that say you can't cast them. You have to suspend them. So the manaless spells, okay, so like the Vision, Living End, Restore Balance, Wheel, obviously Hypergenesis as well if it wasn't banned in Modern. Those are all abusable with Brain. Fuse spells, so okay, so things like Vision, Fuse spells, Split cards, Entwine, Kicker, and technically Buyback, but that one's, I mean, like, what would you even do? Hang on, Buyback. What would you even do? What would you even do with a Brain? In Modern, let me take out all the non-Modern ones. What would you even, like, Buyback, though, to abuse it? I don't think there are any good Buyback spells in the format that I can think of that I'd want to Brain. Yeah, I can't think of anything. Do Sprout Swarm. X spells don't work well with Brain either, like this Worm Crawling. Doesn't work well with it. Lingering Souls, Spellburst. Spellburst is an X spell as well, it wouldn't work well. What about Evangelize? Huh, wait a minute. And it says of their choice. Oh crap, that's not that good then. I'm good, Melfian. I need to go to sleep though. How would multi-kicker work though? Oh, I mean, I know kicker works. The judges told me that kicker worked. I don't know about multi-kicker. But yeah, kicker works. Let's look at the kicker spells. I mean, you get into the Royal. That'd be 3 mana total then if you want to pay for the kicker, and then you let the Brain handle the Royal part. Rite of Replication is a bad example. The kicker's too expensive. But this guy was a kicker on this dude. It's terrible. It's also not a spell. Okay, Marsh Casualties. The kicker on that is only 3. That has potential. 4 mana minus to everything, instant speed. It has X in it. That wouldn't work. This wouldn't work. These are all creatures. I'm not that interested. Huh. But no. Yeah, like Into the Royal seems like the most playable one. I can't think of anything. Can't think of anything else. This one doesn't have X. Huh. But you'd have to get the Brain to 5, which seems near impossible. I was only getting my Brain in a jar to maybe 2 in the early stages of games, and that would cast the Beck Call Transfusion, or Fusion. No, you do get to kick. I talked with the judges at the GP. If they don't know, then nobody does. The head judges actually I spoke with about it, and they were pretty excited about it, which is kind of cool. I don't know. There doesn't seem like to be any like really good kickers that are worth it. Well, yeah, it's too hard to do in modern. Same with the pledge. What else is there? Peel has a kicker of 5. That's too much. What's the kicker on burst lightning? Too much. 7. Yeah, the only one that seemed like it had potential was maybe casualties, but even that's pretty ambitious. But it's fun to think about. Yeah, like kicker's another way to... Vines, you only have to pay 1 green. It seems terrible. It's already green. The card already works just fine without that. Hunting Wilds. Okay, so no, it's still bad. No, it's not. Actually, this one might be the only example. So this makes the brain would make that a lot easier to pay for, wouldn't it? So you get the brain to 4 counters, or 3 counters, and then you set this up. You brain in a jar for 1 colorless, the Hunting Wilds, and then you kick it, and you get an army of 3 3s. 3/3 green creatures with haste. No, it just says untap all forests, but it's not all of your forests are 3 3s. It's just the ones that came that turn. That doesn't seem good enough. Ooh, it's a pretty burst lightning. Hello. I don't think kicker's the way to go with it. Ooh, I have 2 of them. I don't think that's the way to go with it. I think the way to go with it would not be kicker. I think it's just fuse. I really do. I think split cards and fuse are the best ways to abuse it. Remember, this is the ruling. It's the 3rd from the bottom. This one, if you cast a split card, that's the one you want. Yeah, I think Beck Call, and then what was the other one? There's one more that had potential, but I didn't bring it to the GP. This one, Catch Release. This is the other one. The problem is, not only is it 3 before you actually get to fuse it, this blows up brain. So gain control, untap gains haste, and then each player sacrifices artifact. Well, there goes the brain, but maybe it doesn't matter. Creature, enchantment, land, walker. This one does technically have potential in the blue or red shell. My issues with it is it does blow up the brain, but I mean, I guess if we're 2 for 1ing your opponent, you don't really care that you're using up the brain. That's true. I mean, I would test this. Maybe for you guys some other night, especially since I can't show you the boom bust. The boom bust isn't working on Magic Online, but it does work in paper. Just ask a Magic Judge; it does work. That's a good point. Somebody really wanted me to test the this one, the Catch Release. I would do it. I don't think it's great, but I would do it. But we love sacrificing brain anyway. Pays for 0 CMC cards. Well, no, it wouldn't, because the brain's last known mode would be... That's a good point, though, Dirty Moyori. The problem is the brain's last known mode, if this is what we were doing with it, would be 3. The last known mode of brain would be 3. So, I mean, but you're not even activating it prior. Yeah, the only other things I really want to explore with brain is breaking and entering for Grizzle Brains, and then, let's see, Brain Ancestral... 13 minutes left. Okay, so Brain Transfusion. This is what I brought to the GP, and then let's rebrew it maybe with some of the other tools. Just because, until they fix it, kind of one of those things. Like, once they fix it, if I'm going to play anything on Magic Online, it's going to be the Boom Bust Transfusion. The Boom Bust off of the Brain was so powerful at the GP, it was nuts. It was nuts. I mean, like, the instant speed Armageddon was just so good. There are plenty of matchups where all you have to do is blow up all their lands. Now, for the fair matchups, I would say that that's not the case. I think that blowing up all your opponent's lands in the fair matchups is only so good. You kind of have to set it up before it wins the game. But against, like, the Trons that like, Tron, various combo decks, blowing up all their lands was fine. It usually won the game. But if you want to make this better, I would also consider some number of Flagstones of Trollcare. But we can't do this right now, so let's open a new copy. And maybe we'll test that other fuse spell in its place. Actually, the real problem is I couldn't. Actually, that's the true issue. So the nice thing about this list, and it might be deceptive, is that the muddle finds all the pieces to the combo, and you're like, wait, what? Yeah. So the muddle is what allows us. So if we're fighting an opponent where we're supposed to bet call, just value them out, you muddle for that. If you need to blow up all their lands, you do this instead, and you can muddle for either piece. These are both indeed CMC2. That's important for both the muddle and, of course, being able to find them regularly. Not just regularly, but most of the time, and it's nice. So, you know, if you want to get into Tutor Town and talk about tutors, it's almost like I've got 5 copies of this. It's almost as if I have 5 copies of this, almost as if I had 4 copies of this. I did use it as a 2-for-1 several times. I actually never faced Thrun or Bogles, but I knew there were some. I talked with several players that were playing Bogles. They were certainly being played at the GP, the Bogles decks. So, yeah, I mean, the muddle gave the deck consistency. This also can give you consistency with Thopter Sword. That'd be another variant of this that I'd love to test. So, we just can't test those right now, and we technically shouldn't be testing this either because it's not working properly on Magic Online. This is, like, you can wear Terra Fuse, which is fine, not that you need to, but you could. Yeah, I mean, like, I would maybe run some. The problem is you can't tutor for it. This thing, the catch release. I mean, I would try the Thopter Blade, Thopter Foundry. If you guys want to see that instead, then you need to change the sideboard. You need to give the deck some more ways to fight like blow up lands. But yeah, like Thopter Foundry Sword is fine. Yeah, something we were thinking about bringing to the GP. I'm just gonna cut a purge because I actually didn't need it all that much at the GP. Yeah, so like Thopter Sword, you can sneak in here, and then you want to probably incorporate some number of Ancestral. Now, why do I want to start adding Ancestrals now after adding the Thopter Sword? The reason is because if you have an extra brain or just any brain at all, and you have the Ancestral in your hand, you sacrifice the brain to the Foundry and it casts the Ancestral. So I would try to sneak like 2 Ancestrals into this list, maybe 1 or 2. I mean, I just don't like the card in the main deck all that much. This card really shines when you know that it's a grind. When you know that it's going to be a grind, this card really shines. When you don't know, when your opponent's like something really aggressive or like in a really aggressive combo, it's not so good. It just kind of sits around. So, how did I do? Oh, Ewok, that's really unfortunate because I gave the whole debrief. I went 7-3-3. I went 7-3-3, and no, again, all those 3 ties only. I would equate especially one of them to my fault, but the other ones not as much. But yes, definitely one of those was my fault. Yes, Kevin. It totally depends on the matchup where it was powerful. The Boom Bust, yes, it was very dependent on the matchup where it was powerful. Yes, where it was powerful was very dependent on the matchup, Kevin. However, you should remember that most decks in Modern need what? Well, they need lands. If we're searching with this, it's actually there, by the way. Yeah. How were I after the mess of day 1? I was fine. I stayed. You guys paid for me to go to the tournament. I wasn't leaving. The Nahiri was not just. The Nahiri died every time I used it. I would honestly just cut it from the list. Like, the Blue Walkers are just so much more resilient. I'd run like a couple Ancestral on the board. And the reason I run them in the sideboard is because when they're good, they're good. And yeah, when the match is slow enough for them to be relevant, they're fantastic. When the matchup is not slow enough for them to work, well, they're pretty crummy. So, we don't even have to set, like, here's the thing, like, here I am, like, I'm running them, and you're like, well, wasn't the whole reason we talked about Ancestral because you were trying to, like, brain and then sacrifice it or, like, brain bounce it? Yeah. But I still don't necessarily feel great about main board Ancestral. I really don't. I think once you know that it's a grind, it's fantastic. If you're going into the match and you're like, oh man, he's Jun, you know, it's gonna be a really slow match. It's great. If your opponent was Burn, you're like, well, kind of wish those were in my sideboard. Is there a link to Grizzlebrains? No, there's not. Don't we need lands too? I can see it being great against Tron and Valakut. It was good against... Okay, so Kevin, it was good against Tron. It was good against Scapeshift. I blew up all of the lands of an Eldrazi Taxis player, actually. Okay, so I verdicted him. and then I do